Hi, fourth grade families. My name is Miss Kipling, and I'm one of the homeroom teachers here in fourth grade. I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about how we approach our science lessons and our social studies lessons, and also what sort of content they'll be learning this year. We call our science lessons storylines. And the reason for that is because rather than having students memorize a bunch of content or vocabulary words, we want them to engage in a series of learning experiences that will eventually help them to answer a scientific question. Our storylines begin with a phenomenon. For example, this week, students are working with string telephones, and the question that they're working to answer throughout is, how does a string telephone work? And in the storylines, students work to uncover bit by bit little pieces of information that will help them to answer that driving question. So we'll do a series of investigations. We'll do a lot of question asking, drawing models, talking about what we think is going on. And then ultimately at the end of this storyline, students will be able to answer that driving question. In this case, how does a string telephone work? So our storylines are inquiry driven. We ask a lot of questions. Students are responsible for generating questions to help us get to the bottom of learning more about that science content. They're hands-on. We have a lot of interactive experiences planned for your fourth grader this year. They're student-led. In our science lessons, students truly do a lot of the heavy lifting. And our science lessons also celebrate growth. You will see science papers coming home in your Child's Monday folder. Some of them might be two-sided, and on the top of one side, it'll say initial, and on the other side, it'll say final. We always try to capture what students are initially thinking about a scientific concept before we begin a unit, so that then at the end, they can answer those same questions or draw a model about the same thing that shows how far they've come and how much they've grown. So be on the lookout for science papers coming home that have those words on them, initial and final. During our science lessons, we are, again, less concerned with them memorizing science content and more concerned about helping them to understand, what do scientists do? What do engineers do? What are some of the practices that those people engage in? And here are some of the science and engineering practices that are central to our planning process. Students will be asking a lot of questions in science class. They will also be defining problems. They'll be developing and using models. This is a huge one. Scientists use models to explain the world around them, and our students will do the same. They'll plan and carry out their own investigations. They'll analyze data and interpret it. They'll use mathematics and computational thinking. They'll construct explanations and design solutions to problems. They'll engage in argument from evidence. And ongoing, they will always be obtaining information, evaluating that information, and communicating that information to others. So while it is important for your fourth grader to understand the science content that we're teaching them, equally important is that they understand that science is a way of thinking about the world and investigating the world. And we want them to be able to engage in these science and engineering practices so that they can begin to think and behave like scientists. So we've talked about how our lessons are structured. Now, what are students going to learn about in fourth grade? We get to learn about sound and light energy, the solar system, force, motion, and simple machines, the movement of water, weather patterns, and stability and change in ecosystems. We typically love to have guest experts. If you happen to be an expert in any one of these fields, please let me know. Or you can email your child's teacher. I don't know how that will look this year, but maybe we can arrange some sort of a Zoom visit, something like that. But if you have a particular area of expertise that's on this list, let us know. And we would love to hear from you.